Hello and welcome to Build. My name is Mike Kelton, and today I will be chatting with two of the stars from TLC's new special, Drag Me Down the Aisle, premiering this Saturday, March 9th at 9 p.m. on TLC. This show features 4 drag queens swooping in to help one bride in need on the biggest day of her life, her wedding day. But before I get to my vows, let's take a look at the show.
Sometimes I stand just on the edge, so close to falling.
The queens want to see my wedding dress.
Oh.
On my wedding day,
Cool.
everyone is going to be looking at me, and I feel exposed, I feel uncomfortable.
It ain't over till it's over.
I don't feel happy with me in this dress.
Can we
see the back? Let us spin.
It's got rippling happening in the zipper. Oh, and it looks like it's sitting a little low on the bust line, maybe.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's not enough support, and I'm just kind of falling down.
It doesn't fit your body correctly.
Yeah.
You were telling us about you're not feeling comfortable with your arms showing, and this is all arms.
I know.
How do you feel in this dress?
Well, I was very nervous for everyone to see me, so.
Still nervous in front of us?
I just don't feel beautiful.
I just need to give her a hug. Can I?
Come on,
You are beautiful.
We gotta give her that love. Like, that's why we're here. You know, and we relate to that. Oh my God. We relate to that as queens.
sisters.
As sisters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As queens, because we work through it every day.
Yes.
It's a daily journey.
Drag is not about becoming a different person. It's about channeling the essence of who you really are inside.
And really, drag allowed us to love ourselves.
And that's why we're here. We're here to teach Emily that.
And to give her that confidence to be a beautiful person inside and out.
That's right.
Amen.
First, I have to apologize for telling you not to have tissues ready with you. Second, please welcome to Build BeBe Zahara Benet and Alexis Michelle. Hi, ladies. How are we doing today?
So good. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Were you ready for all that emotion? I didn't know that was the
We have
clip.
not seen
We
that
haven't seen that
as
much of the
first
show
time
yet.
seeing it,
So,
it's
what was that like? I mean, first off, what was that like? The first thing you've seen of the show? What was that like right now?
I think I think it's like reliving the experience, you know, that moment. Because I think what people really don't know is that some of these shows are really real. It's real emotions and real stories, especially with Drag Me Down the Aisle. You know, Emily was, it was just crazy.
It took me right back to that day, our first day meeting Emily in
Yeah.
Lancaster. And like as soon as we walked in and we met her, I was like, this is a beautiful girl whose confidence somewhere along the line got broke somehow. And so I was like, that's gonna be our thing.
And it was just great to see her share her story and be able to like open up to people like us, you know. And when I say people like us, sometimes drag, you know, when we show up in our galore, it can be intimidating to people. So to see her just break down and just be that vulnerable allowed us to be vulnerable as well with her. You
It
know?
was a beautiful moment.
was a
For
beautiful
people that don't know,
moment,
I'm also a
yeah.
producer on the show, so I was there in the kitchen, and we were in the kitchen crying on listening to what was happening. It was extremely emotional. But you know, for people that don't know, they will get to know the show and in your capacity as wedding planners and makeup artists and musicians. But for people that don't know, they probably know you from Drag Race, right? BeBe is the original winner of Drag Race. Let's give it up.
Yes!
Alexis, a top 5 contestant on season 9 of Drag Race. Let's also give it up. So before we get here, because I think this show exists because of Drag Race. I don't think we would be here without Drag Race. So what has it been like watching this cultural phenomenon grow and become this huge thing in the zeitgeist? What has that been like for the both of you?
I'm gonna respond first, BeBe, because it was really watching your season and what a beautiful job you did and how you bared your soul on that season that inspired me to sort of come out again as a drag queen. Mike and I went to college together at University of Michigan.
Go blue.
Go blue. And I had been dabbling in drag at school. And when I came back to New York, I was like, okay, I got to pursue my musical theater. And I was really afraid that letting my drag out of the closet would pigeonhole me. And it was seeing BeBe and the rest of the girls on season 1 that made me go, you know what? I have to do this, and I want to do this. And there's been such an evolution, of course, with Drag Race in of itself and drag in the world that I think you're right is totally, in part credited in a large way to Drag Race.
How does that feel for you, BeBe? I mean, hearing that Alexis was inspired by watching you. I mean, your co-stars on the show, you work together. How does that feel hearing that?
I feel humbled, and I feel humble and grateful at the same time because back in the day feels like really old. back in the day, maybe I have to change that. Back in the day, a couple years ago, like yesterday, when I was asked, I actually auditioned for the show. Well, I didn't audition for the show. The show presented itself 3 times to me before. Yep, it's the 3rd time. That's what a lot of people do not know, and it was the 3rd time that I decided. I said, they say 3. What they say 3 times is a charm. Is that what they say? Yeah, and that is the 3rd time, and that's when I decided that I was going to do it. When I knew that Mother RuPaul was very, very involved in it, and the reason why I was so pessimistic right in the beginning when the opportunity presented itself, it was because this is what I do for a living, This is what I do. Drag is my artistry, and I've created a brand, and I was creating a brand, and everything I had seen prior to that was people just laughing at the art form as opposed to celebrating the art form. And I was like, I'm not gonna go on national television. Cameroon doesn't know, Africa doesn't know, nobody knows. And all of a sudden just be like this thing that people laugh at. So I was very pessimistic about it, but the opportunity was really amazing. The experience was really amazing. And seeing my sisters being inspired by what we did, I've always known that we are artists. We are just a blank canvas, and we are just painting whatever it is on that black canvas. And I'm just happy that people get to see that also.
And what was unique about Drag Race, I think, and the way that it's impacted the world, is it allowed us to see not just this artist and queen and performance, artist, but also to see who BeBe is underneath all of it. And that was really
Did you see underneath, honey?
Pardon?
Have you seen underneath?
Oh!
You really want to go there? No,
The skirt is full, so today maybe I could.
No, it is, and we are very humbled by it. We're humbled by Drag Race. I'm just so happy that in 2019, we're able to see ourselves getting into mainstream media.
It's amazing. And it really has given us an opportunity to present this show to a larger audience. And if you think about it, TLC is a different audience than a VH1, right? Was there any fears you had going into this show, knowing that we were going to work with a bride, Emily, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Did you have any fears or preconceived notions about going into Lancaster, being a drag artist, and going there to help Emily?
My only fear was really the Lancaster situation. That was it, girl. When they say Lancaster, I say, what village is that? Lancaster. That was I was really nervous just about that because it just painted a too wonderful moment for me. And then we went there and we had to. Our first ride was the buggy.
Yeah, we had the girls. You'll see in the show, but the girls will arrive, of course,
looking like this and riding. So that was it. But I wasn't scared about the experience because I think what is amazing, even when we go back to Drag Race, is that a lot of our fans and supporters and even people who are sitting and watching us through their television can really identify with us as human beings because we all share the same kind of stories. We all go through the same kind of emotions and hardships and struggles. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what you're going to see in Drag Me Down the Aisle. That's why we're able to relate to Emily, not because she's a bride, but because of the human in her. Mm-hmm. So I think that was special.
I grew up 5-minute walk from where we are right now. We are in the OG Tower Records, where it used to be.
Something I just learned, yeah.
Yes, I used to buy not only my CDs, but my cassette tapes here. And I think growing up in Lower Manhattan in a liberal family, I've been very privileged to be so accepted. pretty much my whole life long. And so I tend to just sort of assume that like that's the way things are gonna go. I do know there are certain places, because I've seen parts of the country and parts of the world where it doesn't feel that way, but I tend to sort of assume that like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be okay. So I really wasn't nervous going to Lancaster to meet Emily and her family, I have to say.
Were you nervous taking us there?
I wanted to make sure it was safe, and I had preconceived notions. I think what's interesting is we're at a place in our country where a lot of people have preconceived notions about other people, regardless of who they are. And so I, of course, did going in, and I learned. So my question to you is, did you learn anything based on your notion of going into Lancaster, Pennsylvania? Did you learn anything, or were you proven wrong about any expectations that you had?
I don't know if I learned, but I know what I could appreciate was the love we got there in Lancaster. Because when we went in, we were not nervous, but we're like, okay, what's this gonna be? But the people were very, very loving. They were excited. You remember? I mean, I'm sure
We walked
the
around
fans
on
are
the
going to get to
streets of
see that.
Lancaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was surprising. They were really, really lovely. And what it just reiterated is that there are still good people out there.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. You know?
Yeah. And so let's get into, the reason you were there was for Emily, right? You really came in to help this wonderful bride, and her journey and experience is incredible, and you'll get to see it in the show. But a lot of people, when they hear drag queens, wedding experts, it's not right away a home run. They don't understand it. So can you explain to me how either drag can prepare you to be an expert at weddings, and how your expertise really brought it to the ball?
I mean, clearly, we're experts in hair and makeup. We all are, in our own way. My particular sort of angle there is that before I was on Drag Race, I was really like moonlighting. Drag was like my nighttime career, and hair and makeup was my daytime career. So I did a lot of hair and makeup for photo shoots, events, and a lot of weddings. So that's sort of the real world experience that I bring to this show. I've sort of held brides' hands from first dress shopping to floral consultation to picking out the sash that goes around the waist and like all that stuff, and right down till the wedding day for their hair and makeup. So I think that's sort of a pretty obvious area where drag can relate perfectly to a wedding. And I think a lot of women are intimidated by bridal hair and makeup, because I think more and more, modern women don't wear tons of makeup on the daily. Some do, but not all do. And so I think, but people know, they're like, well, I gotta look sickening on my wedding day.
It's a pretty important day. There are
Those
tons of
pictures are gonna last
You wanna look
forever,
good. Yeah.
So for me, like someone who knows how to put on some makeup and make it look like you're not wearing any at all is something I can speak
BeBe says,
to.
really? Okay. What about you, BeBe? What expertise did you bring to this show?
Just like Alexis, what a lot of people do not know is that I have always been a wedding consultant. Actually, that was my first job before even jumping into the art form of drag. I did decor and design, and I've done it for so many years. I think the beauty, and even just to say, you will be surprised when you talk to drag entertainers how much different gifts they have. This is just one layer of who we are. There's so many other layers. What really helped me, if we have to really marry the two, is that as drag performers and artists, we create illusion, we create perception, we get to create all of this. And I think we let our minds really just go really far and beyond in how we create and how we can make a really small budget look expensive, bitch. We know how to do that. And so that is a skill that I always have been so grateful that I can bring into the weddings, because a lot of my brides, they love the fact that we can create all this fantasy, because they really do have fantasies in their minds of what their wedding needs to be. So
I also just want to remind our viewers that if you're watching this, wherever you're watching it, you can submit a question, and we'll be taking some Twitter questions later in the broadcast with some audience questions. But I just wanted to remind them of that. I do think that is important. But what about drag? Like, what about drag helps with planning a wedding or giving a bride confidence on her big day?
Now, BeBe said something that I think could be explored further. And for me, you know, for someone, we've both been doing drag a long time. And for me, who started doing drag, I mean, I started doing it professionally 15 years ago, but I started doing it a lot longer ago than that. I always was dressing up as a little boy and into my sort of teenage years. And it was in those years when I didn't have my own income. You know, I was going to school. I wasn't working yet. And you had to I had a dress. My first drag dress, I called it the Grisabella of dresses because it had at least 9 lives. You know, and I think that's something that for me drag has always been about, which is taking trash and turning it into treasure. And I think that's what BeBe's really talking about, is because of the way we imagine on such a big scale, you know, we can take the constraints of a budget, a wedding budget, because Lord knows the wedding industry is really huge in that regard. And we can make magic out of something modest.
Yeah, and I think you'll see that in the show too. I think you'll.
I think, and then I think on a different layer on the whole situation, I think it's the struggles that we go through as human beings and as people, you know. And I think that we put ourselves in a position where, as entertainers, we are out for the world to criticize. You know, you're either gonna love us or you're gonna hate us, but you're gonna have something to say. And so every time when we present ourselves in this form, we have to always, not even just as the artists, but as human beings, always tell ourselves that we belong and we have a gift to give. Do you know, we have to really, really appreciate who we are as artists and as human beings. And that is what we take to these women. And that's why we're able to go and say, yes, girl, you got it. We create our illusion by just looking at you and how beautiful, well, not you, Mike. Oh, she's really taking all that like, oh yeah, you are not the bride. No, but you know, we get to tell them that and say you are beautiful and we celebrate who you are. And you already have what you're looking at us asking for. So we just need to enhance it and just really empower you to just be that because you've been gifted already.
Totally.
And I have to say, I think that's the particular beauty of this show, is it's going to illuminate that thing that we can relate to, that so many women, connect with and feel, not just on their wedding days, but on the daily. I think it will show that our human condition is like this, that there's really no separation.
And we're very similar.
Yes, God.
Yes, I love that. And you do see that in the show. That is definitely something. Now, let's talk a little bit about, you know, the fans from Drag Race will be coming to the show and saying, like, is it funny? Is it joyful? What is it like working with the 4 of you in particular? Because you weren't all on the same season of Drag Race. It's a really interesting and eclectic crew that I find really joyful. So is this show, how was it for you filming with you, the 2 of you, Thorgy and Jujubee? What is that like?
I know. Well, my sisters are not here. We miss you,
Miss you, girls. We miss you.
They're making coins elsewhere, but that's good. But we're here to represent our sisters. But to me, it was amazing. I loved the experience because I don't get to tour with my sisters all the time. So first of all, it was a really bonding experience to just be with them and be able to go through the experience with them. But I think that because it's not a competition, right? It's not that kind of, so the pressure is totally different. The pressure on us is to make this bride be wonderful, for her to celebrate her day and love it. But it was just a fun it's so goofy. Like, I was surprised of how many cackles. I mean, bitch, we cackled, honey.
It was very hard to edit because of that.
They kept saying, shut up. Yeah. We would cackle the house down, and it was amazing. And that's what we want, and that's what the show needs to be. It's not just, it doesn't have to be just that. It needs to be about light and love and fun and laughter, you know.
That joy, too, you see in Emily's transformation. You really see this person, she's shy, and then at the end, she's cracking jokes and being shady with all of you.
And that's why she let down her guard.
Yes.
Because we were just having such a blast, you know, so she could just be like, yeah.
Sorry, Alexis.
What about you, sis?
I have to say something that I bet a lot of our Drag Race fans will be able to connect with out there, which is being somebody who watched the show starting with the first season and all the way through and auditioned 8 times to get on. These girls were part of a legacy that I badly wanted to be a part of, and I still geek out when I program a name like BeBe Zahara Benet into my phone. So particularly working with, with BeBe and Jujubee because they're from early seasons, it's a thrill for me. I love Thorgy too, of course, but we knew each other being New York queens already.
BeBe, do you get a kick out of typing Alexis Michelle's name into your phone?
I don't know if I get a kick out because her name is already on the phone. It's already in the phone. Alexis is amazing, and I think people get to see us in a different light. I think that's what I got to see you in a whole different light.
What's something new that you have a newfound respect from working with each other on this show? What's like something new that you found working with Alexis?
With Alexis, she's down to earth. She's very, very down to earth, and she has the motherly instinct. She has that nurturing thing about her, and I think that you get to see it play out on the show as well. It was lovely to see. It really was.
Thank you, gal.
Now I got paid to say that, but
I paid her to say it.
Okay, so with Drag Race, there's a lot of, I'm sure as we learned throughout the years, there's a lot of social media commentary with Drag Race. Do you do anything to prepare yourself for what will come when this show airs?
What do you mean?
So people talk
trolls?
a lot on the internet, good and bad, right?
Okay.
That comes from Drag Race. I think that's something that you have to expect these days. It is difficult as a queer person watching Twitter while the show is airing. It is difficult to watch because you see in our family we're tearing each other apart, and it feels sad to see. I'm like, let's support everyone, even if you want them to go home, like support them. But I can also be boring and too nice, I've been told. But what do you do to prepare yourself for what people will say when they see this show and a new audience?
I was actually talking to someone last night about this. I think that we, having been in visibility, in the spotlight for a little while, and having been through a season, or in some case seasons, of Drag Race, I think that we're better equipped now to sort of roll with the punches, if you will. The one thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go out here and say it right now, is that the majority of the sort of tearing down that happens with Drag Race fandom is largely to do with insignificant. It's just sort of commonplace bullying or commonplace keyboard warrior stuff. And it's really not that deep. And so if you can sort of acknowledge that, it's easy to let it fall away. And I think it also happens to stem from a lot of younger people. The thing that I am braced for with this new audience is that there are going to be more conservative viewpoints that maybe aren't ready or don't want to see us in this context. And I think the part that is shocking to me about that is these are not necessarily just young people. Because I bet the younger people that watch TLC are probably like ready for
Excited.
this, But there are going to be some, more middle-aged or older people who watch TLC who may be resistant to this. And so I'm braced for it. I'm ready for it. But I think that's why TLC and the world needs this show.
I agree. BeBe, did you have an answer to that?
What I was going to say is, to me, is stay on the message. I think that is very important. The show was not created because, and I'll talk about is Drag Me Down the Aisle, was not created because the network was bored or we were bored. There is a dying need. With what's happening in our culture today and with what's happening in this country and with politics, there is a need for people to show love. There's a need for people to receive love and just be loved. I think there is that need. And if you're sitting out there and you're watching the show and watching us and we are spreading this love to this human being who deserves it, who needs it, why will you be that upset about it? You have to start questioning yourself. Why am I upset about someone who is giving love to someone? That's something you need to think about. And when it comes to Drag Race and the trolls online or whatever, I think that when you stay on the message and you know why you're doing it in the very first place, everything is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Here, clap it up for love. We love love. We love love. Okay.
Ooh,
Thank you. Yeah, I
yes.
have a BFA. Okay, we do have a question from Twitter
Work.
that I'm going to read to you guys now. This is from SailorCat77. What's up, Sailor Cat?
Hi, Sailor Cat.
Hi, Sailor Cat. Okay,
Hi.
the question is, hi, what were some of your favorite behind-the-scene moments? And then there's a little heart, which is cute.
I'm gonna start. So usually, a lot of times when we're touring, we tour alone. We go and do a gig alone.
Mm-hmm.
The fun times, I think, are when you get to tour with either one or a group of your sisters. Now, usually, even in those situations, you have your own rooms. Well, what was unique about Drag Me Down the Aisle is Mike had the genius idea to put us all in a house together, real world style. And that was the gag. That was fun.
We should have had GoPros in that house.
I know.
It was something.
We also should have had 4 bathrooms. But
this is just production shade at this point.
But no, it was really cute. And next time I'll make sure not to be the last girl in the house so I don't get the shitty room.
Well, it's funny because when you got there, there was a moment where BeBe pulled me aside and she's like, baby, where's the big room? She's like, where's the biggest room? And I was like, I don't know, BeBe. This is like an Airbnb. And then you quickly ran up.
We started running to look for the biggest
It was literally
room.
like Ramona and Sonia in Housewives on the Vacation was you and me.
And what
honestly.
happened, I ended up not even using the biggest room by myself. I slept with Jujubee.
Because she got scared of a ghost.
Because she got scared of the ghost that the house was haunted.
The house was haunted.com.
Yeah,
booth.
so she was like, bitch, I'm sleeping with you. I don't care what's going on.
It was 4 drag queens in a haunted house.
Do you
And
remember
that's
Jujubee?
another show.
And she screamed. Do you remember when she screamed?
She
The
screamed
first
in the middle of the
she
night.
slept, she's like, ah! And
Wait,
nobody,
how did she do it?
ah!
Wait, can you do it one more time? Okay.
But you
There's
know,
some discrepancies
the
between
funny thing
those.
is that she did that, and we're all sitting like sleeping on the same level, and nobody moved. We were not bothered by that.
Listen, I can sleep through anything. Now that we
She
tour,
was so mad.
I can sleep on a plane, I can sleep in an airport, I can sleep in a car.
She was so upset.
I didn't
and
even wake up.
I know, and all of a sudden I find her in my bed. I'm like, bitch, what are you doing here?
Well, I hope that was a good answer to our Twitter question where you got more than you asked for with that. But we have 2 audience questions I would love to throw to.
They've been
Hi,
lovely.
audience. How are we doing?
Hi.
Audience. Yes. Okay, first question is right here in front.
Hi, Michael McAlvin here. So my question for you guys is, what was the most gratifying thing for you guys to see while being able to see the bride's transformation?
I think for all of us, we all noticed on the big day, without giving too much away, there was a real shift in Emily's attitude. I don't want to say too much. All I'm going to say is this was a girl who didn't wear makeup, wasn't comfortable wearing makeup. And by the time we got to her wedding day, she had bought herself a certain accessory, accoutrement.
That for sure did not give it away.
It didn't give anything away. I didn't say anything. But the point is, we definitely saw this attitude shift happen with Emily. In doing her makeup, I definitely sort of really close up got to see that shift come over her. But there was a way that she was standing up for herself and saying, this is what I want. And that's what we went to do.
That's amazing. We do have another question right next to,
Hi guys, Michael David.
Hi, Michael David.
Hi. So obviously it's a lot of responsibility having to plan somebody's best day of their life. So what did you have going in that maybe was pressure or something that you were nervous that might happen or go wrong? Although nothing probably would go wrong.
Right.
There's definitely something I'm thinking about.
What are you
go?
What are you thinking about?
You go first, honestly.
I think to me the pressure was, and it's the pressure with every wedding that I plan, is making sure that she lives her ultimate fantasy. And I think that, we did an interview with the Rachel Ray, and that question sort of was asked, and they said, Drag Race different from the pressure of Drag Race? Yes, Drag Race is not even close to this, in my opinion, because I think that. There she goes.
Cut
She's
to
like,
Alexis' face.
Cut to the face. In my opinion, Drag Race was much more easier in terms of the pressure, because when you have dreamt about this big day for a long, long time and you get to see it come to life and you have this fantasy of what it needs to be, you want it to be exactly that. You want that picture that you paint to be exactly what you dreamt about for so many years as a little girl. That's pressure, because you want to make sure that that dream and that fantasy comes to life, you know?
God bless BeBe Zahara Benet, who thinks that Drag Race is less pressure than planning someone's wedding. But hey, she won, right? And I didn't. But I think for me, what I brought to planning this wedding and planning any wedding that I've done is probably my theater kid mentality that we share, is that in the theater, anything that can go wrong will, and you learn how to roll with the punches. And I think that that's very drag too. Yeah. We can handle anything that gets thrown at us.
And a lot always goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And it's finding the way to smooth it over, buff it out, stretch it, spray it, so
Don't
that
let
nobody knows.
Smooth it over, stretch it out, spray it, stretch it.
That nobody,
No.
that
Yeah.
nothing
Yep.
wrong happened, you know?
It was meant to be like that.
Exactly, and I think that is a particular strength that we also brought to planning this wedding.
100%. It was fascinating for me to see when we had curveballs thrown our way. I would call the queens and I'd be like, "This is a problem," and Alexis was like, "I got it, girl." I mean, it was like, how do you get this?
That's how we do it, because there was, and you'll see when the show premieres, there was a moment at the last moment. I won't say more than that, but nobody, and I mean nobody, can do last minute like a drag queen.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
Okay, we do have another Twitter question. Come on, Twitter. Hi, love, we love. All three of you look super, oh, that's so nice, super gorgeous. I was feeling insecure. That was me next time I had a little makeup on, so
You look
thank you
pressed,
so much.
honey.
Thank
Beat
you.
for the God.
Okay, so all three of you look super gorgeous. What advice would you give brides out there who are still struggling with trying to feel comfortable in their own skin?
Of course, and this is something that we might get a little into on this premiere. I think because it's a day where attention is centered around you, it can bring up a lot of insecurity. And I think what's important to remember when it comes, you know, to attire choices for your appearance, that if you're not feeling comfortable, it's not you. There is something out there that will make you feel comfortable. Now, of course, the approach also wants to be from the inside. It can't be purely external. But just know that don't settle, because if you feel something isn't right, there is a way to fix it.
Like, trust your instincts. So
Trust
like,
your
I'm
instincts
thinking
and listen
what
to
you're saying.
yourself.
If I were that bride and I was like, oh, I'm not happy with everything at my
Yeah.
wedding, so you're saying, like, make it right. Get the thing that
Don't
is.
settle.
Don't settle.
Don't settle.
I think that's good advice. What about you, BeBe?
Well, my thing is, I don't think that the wedding day should be, and I tell this to my brides all the time, the wedding day is not the day or the moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm insecure, what do I do? I think that every time you get up in the morning, just even being just a human being, you have to appreciate yourself. You have to tell yourself, I am beautiful. You look at, you have, I don't know how many people in the room speak to themselves. Do you speak to yourselves, people? Do you, yeah, it's that you'll be surprised, because we all go through these struggles. So you'll be surprised when you get up in the morning and you tell yourself, I belong. I love who I am.
I love moi.
I love moi. and it's hard. I'm not saying that that's something that you just always, it's something you have to train yourself, put it part of your exercise when you get in the morning. And I tell my brides that you have to do that, because then leading up to this moment, you get to enjoy the light.
You know, because I heard you say this in the show when we were filming, and I tried. I like looked at myself in the mirror in the morning and I was like, "You're awesome!" Like,
Did you
you're
feel
super
stupid
cool.
doing that?
I felt real stupid the first time. I felt real stupid, but I will tell you, I did it a couple more times, and it kind of, I like amped myself up, and it really did feel good. For anyone out there that's struggling with anything, it seems silly, but actually, like, now I'm in the morning, I'm like, You're awesome, Mike. You're amazing. I'm that little girl in that like viral YouTube clip where she's like, everything's awesome. But it really was helpful.
You have to be your cheerleader.
Yeah.
You have to be your own cheerleader.
And I have to say, you know, and this is probably something that people out there can relate to. Even that exercise is not so simple for me, and it doesn't feel natural. But even just hearing BeBe say it has reminded me to think about it sometimes, even if I'm not fully comfortable saying it out loud in the mirror. Just thinking about it and being like, okay, these are the things that make you special. So, because there are a lot of type of people out there, and there's a lot of type of brides out there. Some are extroverts like us, and some are going to be more introverted. And I think for whatever your style is and whatever your sort of way you move through the world, that you can remind yourself of that, even if it's done more quietly and internally, or do it loud like BeBe.
And you can see Emily, and you can see that even with Emily, when people watch the show, they will see exactly what I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think those are awesome answers. I want to thank BeBe Zahara Benet and Alexis Michelle for being here. Thank you, our studio audience. Drag Me Down the Aisle premieres this Saturday, March 9th at 9 p.m. on TLC. I'm Mike Kelton, and I will be telling myself I'm awesome in the mirror tomorrow morning. Goodbye, everybody.